Well, we're back again. Got a little bit more work to do on this thing. Got a whole bunch of parts still on the way. And I'll show you what we did yesterday. I didn't film it because it was awful. But as I mentioned at the end of the last video, I have not leaking too bad. I guess that's good. Got our slicks all good. As I mentioned at the end of the last video, this has 355 gears, and what I didn't realize at the time, kind of an odd locker. It's a torsion, so a gear style locker. So if you unload one tire, it acts like an open rear end. It's really strange. But I've got, or had, a Curry Enterprises and a strange nodular center section with 410 gears and a Detroit locker in this old baby. And I wanted to pull it over there to the driveway to work on it because it's kind of muddy back here. But because it's kind of muddy back here, I would have sunk everything in the world trying to pull it over there. So we went full sketch and jacked it up and got the center section out of it. Came out real easy. Axles came out real easy. I believe this is honestly the first time I've ever taken this thing apart since 1995 when I bought it. No issues whatsoever, and everything looks brand new. The oil was still good. It was nice and yellow. No crap in it. Everything looked real pretty, but I was up to my neck in mud, blood, and beer by the time we were done over there, so I didn't feel like filming it. But we got the axles wrapped up. I don't think I'm going to be using those. I think I'm going to be using the original ones that are in the car. They're both 31 spline. And I got my center section wrapped up. Needs a little bit of a cleaning. She is a beast. And still good. The backlash. The tag on it. What do we got here? Oh, Curry Enterprises tag. Neat. Shows you what I've seen. I didn't even realize that was there. But it's a pretty gnarly rear end. I may, well, I am going to clean it up. I may paint it a little bit. But what we're going to do today is endeavor to remove the center section from the hot rod, which is not hard on a 9-inch. Basically, once you get your wheels off, you need a 9/16 wrench. That's it. Pull the axles, pull the center section, spill oil all over the place, and that's the end of the day. It's really not bad at all. But yeah, so we're going to get the wheels off of this thing, get it up on some jack stands, and start seeing what we can do. Alright, so first thing you got to do after that is try to get the drums off. These. Come on. There they go. Nothing major there. Got to do that on both sides. And then come in here. You've got these 4 nuts on these studs. And if I'm right, these studs go all the way through the back, and they're on like a T-bolt right there on the end of the axle. And that pinches everything together. Your brake backing plate and the holder out here that keeps the axle in. So we're going to pop those 9/16 off, and then this axle should pull right out. I don't know that I'm going to remove it all the way because I don't have to, and I am going to keep these because they look pretty good. And so we're going to go get a 9/16, pop those off. There's that T-bolt. So it just binds up against the axle so you can tighten it up. Little persuasion. She comes out. Once you get that over the axle bearing, that's it. So that is pulled out of the rear end. Kind of sitting on the seal. I don't really like that, so I am going to pull it out the rest of the way. There it is. Pretty beefy. Bearings look good, no rust. Seal still feels good. So I think we're going to be in pretty good shape. And that seal rides up here. You can see it's a little bit bigger in diameter than here. So you get your bearing, which is nice. We'll wipe all that down. Now we're just going to go repeat on the other side. Exactly the same procedure. Pull the 4 9/16 and pop the axle out. Alright. Everything looks pretty good. Both axles are out. No issues. This thing's never had traction, so no twist. And now, I think I'm going to clean this thing. It shouldn't take too much. You see, that is a Detroit locker. It looks kind of like a spool, but if you kind of look in there, there's some weird stuff going on there. It's the most brutal driving rear end I've ever driven. If you are at all on the gas ever, it is locked. And about the only way to get the thing to break loose to actually turn when you're in a corner, you have to be off the gas. And then it goes clunk, and then it makes a click, 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 click noise while you're going around the turn. And then as soon as you get back straight again, it's clunk, shakes the whole car. But you definitely have 100% forward bite on both wheels at all times with this monster. And this is the first time I've looked at this, and ooh, it's pretty. It's a strange nodular case, 410 gears, 37/9, that is the ring to pinion ratio to give you the 410. It's a little sticky because I hit it down with some Cosmoline last night before I put it away, just in case I didn't get at it today and get it put back together. I didn't want any rust forming on it. But yeah, so I'm going to put this thing back together. Actually, I'm going to clean it. I'm going to scrape all the gasket and the silicone and the goo off of it. Get that done. And then degrease the outside, spiff it up a little bit, and put it back in the start. I don't know if I'm going to paint it. I may not, because it's just iron and it's under the car and you're not going to see it. So, but I'm going to clean it off good, so get rid of this dust and goo so I can see if it is leaking going forward. The backlash is just negligible. I love it. This is a good unit. And that end, that's the nodular iron. It's a stronger version of the iron, and a lot of times, sometimes you'll see them with only one rib up in here. The 2 ribs are a little stronger again. So that's what we're going to do now. I don't think I'm going to record this because all I'm going to do is spray degreaser on it with a brush, and then hit it with some brake clean. So we'll be back after that. Alright, that is one generally spiffed up rear end. Whew. silk. Yeah, cleaned up real nice. Just a little bit of grease buildup, but again, 25 years. So, not too bad. Internals look good. I'm not touching anything. Gave the mounting surface a little Scotch-Brite, cleaned it off really good. We're out of Scotch-Brite, so sorry Mona about your dish sponge. Anyway, I just bought some new ones, so we're good. But yeah, so now the fun part begins. Now we got to get that one out of here. And let's sneak under there and we'll take a look. And the other issue is that thing weighs probably 75 pounds. Okay. Alright. Yep. Gonna have to remember to put the panhard rod mount back on because that's a little different on this one. Pop our U-joint off again like we did when we were checking the drive shaft. And now that the axle's out, it's just all these bolts, then it drops oil all over you down here. This thing got a gasket in it too. My other one had a gasket. I see a lot of people do these things with silicone. But, I don't know. I may try to find a gasket for it. Because that changes your depth a little bit to the spacing to the axles. The bearings can handle it. I don't think it's a big issue, but I don't know. It almost looks like it should have a gasket. So I'm going to do a random search around to see if anybody has a gasket in town. If not, it'll go in with silicone and I'm sure it'll be just fine. But yeah, it's just take all these bolts off, all these nuts off, and then you gotta kind of lever it up and out and drop it on your face and break your arm because it weighs 3 million pounds. So I think first thing I'm going to do is see if anybody has a gasket. So, according to the Intertubes, one of my local AutoZones, not a sponsor, may actually have a 9-inch gasket in stock. So, I found that if I look up parts for a 1980 F-150, that'll get me what I need for this rear end. It's the right drum brakes, it's apparently the right gasket. So we're going to take a little run to the store and see if I can get a gasket just to put this thing in exactly the way it was. Sure enough, one Felpro Ford 9-inch gasket. Gasket set, including one gasket. But that should be good. So, now the fun part. Getting this disaster out from underneath. Set that in there. Keep it from getting mucked up. Now we get to get under here, pop the drive shaft off again, and make a mess. So, that's next. Alright, so the first thing on this you gotta do is take the panhard rod off. That centers it side to side because of the parallel 4-link doesn't have any side to side control. Again, just 9/16. Okay, so that's not going to get out of the way. And I don't see any good way to hold it up there. Don't want to take it off the frame. Oh well, we'll let it sit for now. So then it's just ten of these. And there is no oil drain on these, so it just comes out in a flood. There are little aluminum washers though, so those you might want to try to salvage. I leave the top one on because eventually it'll hold it in place when I drain it. Keep it from completely nosediving into the concrete. Alright, so we got the washers off, we got the top bolt loose, and now we're going to beat this thing up a little bit. There she goes. And just let it drain. This could take a while. Alright. Now the horrible part. Getting that thing out of there without dropping it on your head. I've got an old AC condenser out of a car. It's made out of aluminum. I haven't scrapped out all my aluminum yet, luckily. These things are horrendously heavy, and if it gets away from you, you're going to have a bad day. And they got to come off, unfortunately, square. Ooh, there we go. Come on. Oh, God, that's heavy. Woo! Alright, I didn't die. So we're good. Okay, let's get that out from under here and compare it to the other one. Alright, so you can see the two big ribs here, the rib on the top, and the depth of this rib and this one. Now you can look here, we've only got one rib. This one's nowhere near as deep over here, and we do not have one on the top. So that's the difference between these rear ends. This is not a bad rear end. This is a great little rear end, but it's nowhere near as strong as this one. Not that I ever needed it, but what's interesting is these were both manufactured by Currie, and you can still see the yellow paint they used back in 1995 when they built it. And this was done in about 1998 or probably about 1998. So, not too bad. But now what we got to do, other than clean up my mess, is clean that whole surface up and spiff it all down. Get a little cup and dip some of that oil out of there just so it stops running over. And then we're going to clean it up really good and put the gasket on and put the new one in. Shouldn't be that bad. So you don't need to see me scraping and hacking with a razor blade, so that's what we're going to be doing now. Before I started cleaning, I was noticing a few other things. You can see the size of the bearings and the bearing caps on mine. The big difference on those. Same axles, 31 spline, but much larger bearing caps. You can also see this big cutout here for the gear clearance. Not the same there. A lot more meat. A whole bunch more meat on that strange unit. So, again, I didn't need that much, but I figured, what the hell, when I ordered it, just do the whole thing. And not quite the same on this one, but not bad. Yeah, boy, that is one wacky looking center section. This is the locker or the gear drive in here for the posi. That's the ring gear bolts onto it, but it's a funny looking unit. Kind of looks sealed, but it isn't. Where mine, you can kind of see it's got sprags and springs in there on the Detroit. Otherwise, she looks pretty good. Interesting little thing they did with the much larger bearing caps. They went with a nice button head cap screw over here, where you've got probably more of a stock one screwed into the top and then going around to hold your lock. That sets your side-to-side clearance. Pretty slick. Again, really nice rear end, but better. And with the 4-speed, way better. So, there we go. Okay. Not sure what kind of video we're going to get for this, but I looked up the instructions for this gasket, and it says use a little bit of sealer on both sides. I have cleaned and degreased that to within an inch of its life, And I should go get some gloves, because otherwise I'm just going to put my oily fingers into the grease, into the sealer. Okay, back again. Alright, so I'm going to put a little bit of sealer on this surface. It might have been a little excessive, but it's all right. We'll squeegee it off as we go. Okay, and we'll put our gasket up. This gasket does only go on one way. Conveniently, I had it set properly. Okay. And I guess I can just put some more on this side of the gasket before I try to stab that rear end in, because that thing is not light. They make really nice reusable gaskets for this rear end now, but I hadn't thought about it. And so, parts store special is what we got. But this is not a bad gasket. It just needs a little bit of sealant. And really, I would have just done sealant on the housing and not worried about it, but this does make a little bit of a difference in the spacing for the axles. So, since they've all had gaskets in them, and from an axle spacing standpoint, I think it'd be fine, but all right, get that out of there. Get that out of there. Okay. Now the fun part. You get to set this thing on your chest and bench press it, and then try to stab it in straight without fucking up your gasket. Oh boy. Oh, I hate this job. Oh God. Ugh, man, that sucker's heavy. Let me show if I can lift it up. Heave. Oh God. All right. Now let's see if I can not drop it on my face. Come on, baby. Oh shoot! Here's my hammer. Come on. Well, I don't think it's going anywhere. Let's go get a tappy tap tap. Oh yeah. Woo! That's not light. Okay. Oh man. Alright, now let's get the little washers and nuts on. And get this thing clamped down. Picking washers up like this makes me wish I didn't chew my fingernails. Alright, well, I remembered to change the battery so it wouldn't die, but I forgot to delete the files on the SD cards. I think I captured most of what I wanted to capture, putting that pumpkin back in. I hope. But now we're back in business. I've got a few more things done while this was downloading. Alright. We finished bolting her all up. Got the panhard rod in, and the drive shaft fit perfectly. So basically what I have on the Firebird is an offset U-joint, because it's the original Firebird drive shaft, but it's a 1350 cross here, so it's like a 1310 here and a 1350 here, which is cool because it bolts right to my 1350. Very nice. So everything is solid here. Got that thing tightened up there. Now what we're going to do is stab the axles back in, which really is nothing other than the reverse of what you saw going out. You just got to stab them in there, put those 4 T-nuts in, lock them down, and you're done once you line the splines. And then you got 410 gears. Now, it's a little more expensive than that because I bought that rear end that I just took that 410 out of in 1995. I don't even know what that, a strange nodular case with the billet front section, 410 gears and a Detroit locker would cost you today. I don't even know. I don't know that I can't see that being less than $1,500. I mean, I paid $2,500 for the whole rear end back in the day, but I bet that's close to $2,000 just for that center section right now. But I already had it. The transmission guys said, yeah, do that, because it'll be better. I said, okay, if it'll be better. So, like I said, now we're going to just kind of wipe up this stuff a little bit, clean it up, stab the axles back in, bolt them back on, get the wheels back on, get this pile on the ground, and see if she works. Oh, and we're going to fill the oil back up, but I'm waiting a little while for that silicone carny to set, and we will go from there. Alright, so I wiped out everything, wiped off the bearing, got that nice, I lubricated the seal section. The key to this is to try not to beat up the seal when you're putting it in. Dirt and chunks off. A little lube on the splines. And so, there she goes. You gotta get your she's in. Now, the bearings have to go in. Give them a little tappy tap tap. There she goes. Solid. Alright. And now we put the nuts back in from the back side. So this isn't hard to do, but it's probably not something you're going to want to do routinely at the track. Just say that. Woo! Punch yourself in the face, dummy. Line of fire. This is probably a special offset wrench for this. But this will do. Nice and solid. The drum back on. finished. Now we just got to go get the other side in a similar manner. Try not to punch myself in the face. And she's ready to fill with oil. And we'll see how she goes. One of the perils of having a wife that likes the house at 47 degrees when it's 80 degrees relative, 80 degree dew point and about 90, well no, it's warmer now, it's probably only about 60 or 70% relative humidity out here, is your camera fogs up every time you take it outside, so you gotta wait. Anyway, now we gotta put some oil in this thing. And if this bites me in the ass, I'm gonna have a fit. Because, oh, I didn't do what I always tell you to do and break the plug loose, the fill plug loose. So, I'm gonna go get whatever the hell that is, I can't see it from here, I'm blind, and try to break that loose and hopefully not swear. Alright, she came out. Yay. As I guess I should expect, because this rear end's acting like it's brand new, so that's good. We got some Valvoline High Performance 8090 gear oil, because it's the only one I could find that didn't have limited slip friction modifier in it. When did they start that? Actually putting friction modifier in all of the gear oils. Everything. No matter, I mean, everything had friction modifier in it. I guess it keeps you from frigging up your rear end if you're trying to change the oil and you're not smart enough to know that you got to add friction modifier. But it's just $2 extra I didn't need to spend, especially for this monster. And it's like, I don't know. I just don't understand why that's a thing now. I don't know when that happened. I haven't bought gear oil in a while, but I don't know. That's just, it's weird to me that that is a thing now. So we're gonna go squirt some of this in there. I got 2 quarts. I don't think it's gonna take full 2 quarts. The biggest issue I got right now is it's at such an angle because it's jacked up that it's gonna be a little low when it runs out of that hole in there. It'll be, and you set it back down on the ground, it'll be a little bit low. But I think it's going to be pretty darn close. It's going to be above the bottom of the ring gear, or certainly the middle of the ring gear anyway, at that level. And I think it's going to be fine. So we're going to squirt all that in there, plug it back up, and then get the wheels on it, tires on it, and drop her down. Alright, she is back on the ground. Phew. All greased up. Ready to rip. That should make it utterly unpleasant to drive. Because the 355s were terrible, the 410s are going to be stupid. But that's the point of the overdrive. Shock is stuck. Alright. Let's see if the rock is stuck. Nope. The rock is not. Yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna go change clothes, well, at least shirts and shorts, and wash up a little bit so we don't completely ruin the interior of this thing. And then we're gonna just putter around a little bit. Might take it out on the road quick just to see how ridiculous it actually is. Alright, we're back in. Everything's filled up. I love this car. She just idles, no choke, no nothing. No gear. Needs transmission fluid. Back in a few. That's why it's not leaking. Alright. Hey. Oh, wait. Forgot the chalk. Oh, man. Doing good today. But at least 4 to deck 6 and we're good to go. Okay. Put the seatbelt on. Oh man, chirping the tires when you put it in drive. Now the speedo isn't going to be accurate. I got Waze in here, see if it works, just to have some idea of ooh. Transmission's never really been adjusted. As far as automatic shifting, it gets up to third gear by about 40 miles an hour if you're lucky. So I'll get through his disaster. Second at whatever, 14. Turn the signal on, get him to move. Whoa. Yeah, she's quick. There's second. That's neutral. Actually, that was third. All right, 1800 RPM at 35. Indicated, which is actually 25. Oh man. Oh, I hate this road. I got something rattling. I gotta find that. There's something loose. Ow, ow, ow. Ow. That, and I mean, you got to build a hot rod down here to survive the roads. You're going to be pretty good anywhere else. Oh, ow, ow. Okay. 25 miles an hour. 1500 RPM at 25 miles an hour in top gear. We're not going to go too far. I forgot my wallet. Let's not be totally stupid and get arrested. But, yeah, she's a little silly. Man, I can't wait for that transmission, and I really can't wait to get this thing, get that exhaust done, get the injection on it, and get it on the track. This thing's going to be fun. I don't know how fast it's going to run. It's only a 440 horse, 515 torque, 502. It's not totally ridiculous like some of the big 502s they made back in the day. This was the first Gen 5 version. Alright, nobody coming, nobody coming, no cops. Let's see what we got here. .45, 2200 RPM at 45 miles an hour. As I looked at the way the fuel is plumbed out of the tank, and it's, let's say, suboptimal. It goes up and down before it gets to the fuel pump. Get off the main drag before it quits, if it's going to decide to die.
sounds perfect. That 355 always had a weird noise when you were decelerating. It like rumbled or grumbled or whatever. It's kind of hard to even explain. But this thing's perfect. It's actually not terrible. It's not been clunky or nothing like it wasn't a Firebird, so that's kind of nice. Do a whole shot by the sheriff's house. There's something loose in the left front. I gotta find that. Not sure quite what it is, but it's clinking. I can hear it. Then I remember that being there the last time I drove it, so that's not new. Yeah. Tap the throttle. The 410s are good. Not good for driving, but good. Alright, we're gonna get this back to the house and we'll wrap it up. Alright, she's back on the charger. All good. Man, I can't wait for that transmission. Because it's just useless right now. That's just ridiculous. But once we get the exhaust done, which those parts should be coming in this week, maybe the next couple of weeks I'll get that welded up. I got a couple ideas. I think what I'm going to end up having to do is actually run the exhaust out underneath the running board and then kick it out here, just in front of the tire. Kind of what we're going to shoot for. Because I can't quite do what I want on both sides because of the way the brakes are set up underneath this thing. But I think that's going to work well. And then, once we get that done, then it's full-on fuel injection. Get that ready to go, get that installed, redo the tank. Have to get the lines set up for that, and the pumps, and the return, and all that stuff. And then, she'll be good for the track. So I won't drive it to the track because it won't be good with the transmission, with the gears right now. But we'll certainly put the slicks on it, throw it on the trailer, and drag it down to State Capitol to see what she'll potentially do, and we'll go from there. But I appreciate y'all watching. So I'll tell you what, if y'all are thinking about doing this kind of thing, the drag and drive events or even the power tour type stuff, you want to do something different. Anybody can go pick up a GTO and just change the spark plugs and run it. But there are probably a bunch of cars like this. Street rods, hot rods that were built in the 90s, early 2000s. We're talking 20, 25 years almost. And the people may not be driving them anymore. They may want to get rid of them. They may need a little bit of work. I mean, not everyone's going to have a big block in it like this one, but that's a hell of a base. You can find something pretty cool and then do a little bit of work to it, and you've got something that people are going to notice if you do these events. Versus, every other Mustang that's flying into the crowd, and the Camaros and GTOs and Cadillacs and stuff like that. I mean, they're fast, they're neat. I don't know that they're as cool as this. Again, I'm 50 years old, and maybe it's different, but anyway, we're going to carry on with this. This is going to happen, so we're getting it ready. I appreciate y'all watching. Take care.